So here we're at the truck, guys. I've got the radiator out. I'll just give you a quick look at the manual here. Disconnect the battery cable, of course, standard stuff, right? You know, disconnect the negative. You can see I've got the everything actually removed. There is no real requirement to drain the transmission fluid. I can assure you very little loss in fluid actually transpires when you disconnect the cooler lines. I'll show you those on the rad itself. Drain the coolant, it's obvious. Remove the fan assembly. Here's the fan assembly actually here. That's what the fan assembly looks like. Pretty straightforward, really only 3 fasteners, a couple of connectors. Don't want to labor the point about that. Straightforward. Disconnect the cooler hoses. I'll show you the cooler hoses down the bottom. Have a couple of these at the ready so you can plug the lines, and as I said, you'll end up losing very little. Maybe I'll not show you lines. It's pretty straightforward. 2 lines, couple of clamps, very simple, very straightforward. Remove the heater hose inlets. Wee bit unique here. When I actually got the rad, I went in a wee bit of panic because I didn't see any rad cap coupling assembly, and it's actually on a little bit of an elbow assembly. The line itself, of course, just goes to the top, so the rad cap itself is remote from the rad, and so that's the upper line, of course, and there's the lower line. Hopefully you can see it sitting right there. Yeah, everything's obviously removed. I've actually just treated the structure a wee bit. This is Canada, so corrosion sets in on absolutely everything, so I've just put a wee bit of corrosion inhibitor on everything. The mounts are down there, the rubber mounts, as you can see. The condenser coil is not looking good at all. It's actually falling apart. The fins are in bad shape. Bad shape. So way down here actually tells you to remove the grill. Of course, that should be probably one of the first steps you should do. Take your time removing the grill here. These plastic clips are quite delicate, and well, if I'm honest, I had a few casualties, but I think I can salvage it. Should be all right. Yeah, the brackets, I'll show you. I'll take you over to the rad and show you what you should be careful with. These brackets, corrosion sets in on these bolts, as demonstrated by this one. Fortunately, the anchor is actually on the new rad, so it's just a matter of replacing this sheared bolt 1 out of 6. Yeah, so there's only 1 screw on the top and 2 on the bottom of each bracket for a total of 4 brackets, 6 bolts. That's pretty straightforward. And then yeah, you have to, of course, get some stuff out of your way. The again, plugs come in handy so you don't lose the fluid everything, guys. Move everything out of the way so you're no risking damage, especially of your new component as it actually goes back in, obviously. Remove the ground here, the engine ground. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Let me show you a bit more detail in here. The lighting a little bit better. So it's not difficult. Take your time. Don't break in and cause yourself more grief. Yeah, wee bit of ductwork and stuff has to be removed. It's not detailed in the manual, but what's new? Again, let me take you over to the rad. So here's the new one. There's the part number. It's a Denso, as I may have mentioned. The price, very reasonable, right? $96. That's American, of course. So that's like $130 Canadian. And the shipping was a wee bit dear. Again, that's American. The shipping was $80, but that's fine. It all arrived in one piece, so yeah, pretty reasonable cost. Keep in mind that part number is for automatic transmission. May be different if you're dealing with a manual, of course, because of the cooler. Already showed you the receipt for that. It looks identical. I'm happy to report. As I said, no rad cap on the top, so when I first saw that, I thought, shit, that's not the right one. But it is in fact the right one. Here's the old one, and here's where it was actually appears to be leaking from. This seam actually right here. That seam there seems like it's where the plastic in the, I don't know why the plastic tank is actually cinched together at that component there, and no, it wasn't leaking from the line down. Check that, this was all dry underneath here. Anyway, top seam seems to have gone. can see some staining on here as well. Perhaps there's been a small leak there elsewhere. The new one, when it comes with these caps, which nicely keep all the residual transmission fluid from pissing out in the cooler section here. Just transfer the caps over as you're removing it. So that's it, all back together. Yeah, so you're going to need to remove the airbox assembly and the ducting, the reservoir, the power steering reservoir, and the applicable bracketry. And one of the fellas actually made a good point in the comments. He said, make sure you check the pressure cap, right? Because obviously if the system's over pressurizing, it could be actually causing the leak. That could be the root cause. So I don't have a pressure tester, I don't have a pump or adapters. So for the sake of $18 in my local auto parts store, that made good sense to me, the suggestion. So I'm sorry, I forget the fella's name, but I'll put it in the comments. Very good suggestion indeed. Yeah, so everything's back together. Everything is leak checked. I'll have to put it through a couple of cycles, of course, in order to get the system to draw in under vacuum to make sure it's completely topped up. As far as I can tell, there's no leaks, top or bottom, which of course is nice. Plenty heat, so that's a good thing. Yeah, I guess that's it. This is actually kind of a, I won't say pointless video, guys, but it is really straightforward. The trickiest part is getting this grill off, and not that tricky once you know how. It's really straightforward. Basic tooling. You can pretty much do the entire job with a 10mm socket. Everything is 10mm, it seems like. Yeah, just a basic pair of pliers will do. I don't have any fancy, no hose clamp pliers or anything. A pair of pliers like this are handy to get into a tight spot. The coolant that you actually require, let me give you the specs and the capacity. So the manual actually recommends Suzuki long life coolant, but is only recommended. So I actually used Prestone, which is kind of a universal. And yeah, here's the capacity. About 7 liters with the reservoir ish. Should mention as well, here's the spec for the transmission fluid. If you decide to drain it as per the manual, it is not required. I literally lost just a few drops when I actually swapped over, providing you have the plugs, guys. Tells you how to check it. I did check it, it's all good. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully she's all well again. Cost, shipping included. Reservoir was the shipping included. 200, just about 300. No, even 300. Say 275 Canadian dollars to repair it yourself. So I was pretty happy with that. I'll, as I said, I'll put it through a few heat cycles, make sure everything is copacetic, and if there's any other grief, I'll give you an update. But I'm hoping not to, frankly. That's it, boys. Cheers.